Isn't it fascinating how everything you once believed about yourself can change in an instant? Because for so long, you held on to these ideas, these rules, without even realizing where they came from. And now, as you begin to notice, as you begin to question, something inside shifts. Who told you that emotions were weakness? Who said you had to shut down, suppress and toughen up? Who decided that showing vulnerability meant giving up? And isn't it strange how those beliefs, those rules, they weren't even yours to begin with. You inherited them, you absorbed them, you accepted them as truth. But were they ever really true? Because now, something inside you knows. Real strength isn't in suppressing emotions. It's in integrating them, in allowing them, channeling them, mastering them. And as you think about that now, as you feel that shift within, you realize something even more powerful. The moment you let go of those outdated beliefs, the moment you release the old limitations, you become unstoppable. Because what happens when you stop resisting? What happens when you stop trying to control every thought, every feeling? What happens when you stop overthinking? Stop second guessing and just trust? And isn't it interesting that the less you try to force things, the more naturally they happen? The more you slow down, the faster you move. The more you let go, the further you go. The more you breathe, the clearer your mind becomes. And maybe now you begin to realize you don't need to prove anything to anyone. You never did. Because confidence isn't loud. Confidence doesn't need to show off. Doesn't need to dominate. Doesn't need to seek approval. Confidence is presence. Confidence is knowing. Confidence is being. And the more you embody this, the more others feel it. The more others respond to it. The more they adjust to you, instead of the other way around. Because the power of your influence is proportional to how well you maintain your version of reality. And wasn't it funny how for so long you thought you had to convince people, thought you had to argue, debate, prove yourself, but now something inside you knows. You don't have to convince anyone. You don't have to seek validation. You don't have to explain yourself. Because the stronger you hold your frame, the stronger you hold your reality, the more people start to feel it. And isn't it interesting how when you believe in yourself so completely, so effortlessly, others begin to believe in you too. And now you might begin to wonder, what happens next? What happens when you embrace this fully? What happens when you stop holding back, stop hesitating, stop doubting, and simply become? And maybe now, as you let this all sink in, you realize it's already happening. It's always been happening. And all you have to do is allow it. And isn't it fascinating how, for so long, you thought you had to fit in, had to please others, had to play small, just to be accepted. And yet when you think about it now, wasn't that exhausting? Because what if, all along, the only thing standing in your way was the belief that you had to earn respect, instead of simply being someone who commands it? And isn't it interesting how the moment you decide, truly decide, to own your power, to stand your ground, the world begins to shift around you. Who told you that standing up for yourself was dangerous? Who convinced you that confrontation was something to fear? Who made you believe that your emotions were invalid? And isn't it strange how those voices, they weren't even yours? Because now something inside you knows, deep down, that the moment you start living on your own terms, something clicks. The way people react to you changes. The way they see you shifts. The way they feel your presence transforms. When you think about it now, what happens when you decide that from this moment forward, you're no longer someone who seeks approval, but someone who naturally radiates confidence and respect? Because the more you speak your truth, the more you stand firm in your own reality, the more respect you command. And isn't it interesting how people don't actually remember the words you say? They remember your energy. They remember how you make them feel. They remember the power of your presence. And so now, as you breathe in, and let this truth settle deep within you, you begin to wonder, what happens when you let go of the fear? What happens when you stop apologizing for who you are? What happens when you realize you're already enough? And maybe now you're beginning to see, you were never the weak one. You were never the powerless one. The only difference between then and now is, now you remember who the fuck you are. And doesn't that feel powerful? Because the more you step into this reality, the more people feel it. And the more the world adjusts to you, instead of the other way around. As you embrace this feeling, lock it in, let it expand, let it radiate from you in every conversation, every action, every moment. Because from this moment forward, you are untouchable. You stand your ground. You own your power. You speak your truth. And you never, ever shrink yourself again.